I grew up ultra Orthodox Jews. My dad wasn't actually. He came from he's Russian Polish. They met in Australia and he kind of turned against them. They were anti-religious and he became religious. It fits into my kind of character. So then I turned against them. But I think at probably the age of I had a pretty rough teen years. I lived a lot on the streets and then had problems with drugs, crime. And I joined the Israeli army, I think for a number of reasons. I always wanted to be an Israeli soldier. I had some older brothers that were Israeli soldiers. I had a lot of cousins that were. So it was always something I wanted to do. And then I also, at that point in my life, I needed a little bit of direction, a little bit of, discipline. And I guess for me, the army strained me out. And don't take that for a second to think that I didn't have the Avi Yemini attitude in the army. I certainly did. And my officers and my commanders, they all remember my charm, we'll call it, of being a smartass, even when we're crying in the. It was a painful time of my life, but it was good fun, good memories. And when I came back to Australia, I opened these IDF gyms. And I probably should have put a trigger warning ahead of that. It was Krav Maga gyms that I had a business. I had a couple of gyms, one in the city here. I guess for me, this whole journey of activism or whatever you want to call it started when there was an operation in the Gaza Strip, which is where I personally served most of my service. And I saw the mainstream media here. Like, I wasn't left, I wasn't right. I didn't really care. And I saw the way they were reporting on what was happening there. And as someone who'd seen it firsthand, experienced it, worked there, and I was just getting so frustrated at watching the news at night and going, mate, that's not how it is. And you're justifying terrorism. You're giving these jihadis this free pass, and you're demonizing the guys on the ground that actually have to be accountable for every freaking bullet that comes out of that gun. And I guess that just got me started. I started using, my gyms were really popular at the time. They were probably the most well-known Australian, like that kind of gym in Australia. I've always been good at getting attention. One of 17 kids. Did I mention that part? So,
yes, but you started 17 gyms, quite a business.
We had 2 gyms, but they were quite popular.
Okay.
And I started to use the Facebook back then, for example, which at the time, this is like 15 or 10 years ago, and it had 80,000 followers. As a gym, that was unheard of. And I started to talk about what was happening in Israel. Now, with relations to what was going on with Israel, I know I was getting people, the conversations, people were getting involved in the conversation. Some people were upset, some people left the gym, some people joined the gym, whatever. It created that political divide. Now, I justified it because at the end of the day, it was an IDF gym. You didn't like that, I didn't really care. I don't want your money anyways. If you didn't at least, if you at least didn't respect the idea that an ex-Israeli soldier is going to defend Israel's kind of right to defend itself on the platform of the gym. But then after that happened, after it kind of died down, and I guess I found my voice, and I started commenting on just other stuff. A lot of it had to do with jihadi stuff because of obviously my Israeli army expertise and counterterrorism stuff and what was going on in the world. And I was commenting on all those sorts of things. And I got constructive criticism, I guess, from people who went to the gym, whether they agreed with me or they didn't. They just loved training in the gym. And they're like, maybe don't use your gym's platform to do that because, it's a business and you're making it into something that kind of, it might attract some people, but it also scare others away, which was a fair enough criticism. And I opened a Facebook page, my first Facebook page. That's 5 pages ago. 5 pages deleted since then. And
could I just put it by that we've had Richard Inman and Simon Bean on, who are vets from the British Army,
Yep.
and we obviously have a big veterans community here. Obviously, they're not as well treated as our government as you would find over in the States. But can you tell us a little bit, what was that like? Obviously, in Israel, it is always that tinderbox situation, always on the edge of something that can happen. Very different from possibly the British Army here, maybe stationed in Germany and not doing much. So, what was your time in the Israeli army like?
It's very funny because it's very different. We trained a lot with the Brits and the Americans and whatever, but we weren't a professional army. It's a conscription, so everybody's like. It's funny. It's like we would watch how a lot the Americans would act, and they were very professional all the time. I'll give you a little example, which the anti-Semites will love because it was just such a Jewish scenario. I remember when the Marines were training with us, and they didn't care about, like, everything was like disposable for them. So they put the magazine in, shot, threw everything out. We had these little bags that we were like following the Marines with after they were training and picking up their magazines that they were throwing out so we can reuse them. I'm going to get crucified for making jokes. But it's also I think it's a mentality as well. So there's a mentality within the army, like we used to call it shchuna. It's like a community. When the boys were hanging out, we were just hanging out, having a laugh. We were so like, it was, you'd walk into our base and you'd think, what, these guys? But then when the alarm bell rang and everybody had to be on the job in a minute, and it's like you're not fighting somebody else's war, which a lot the Brits today, you know, I know a lot of the vets that served in Afghanistan and Iraq, but they feel like they didn't fight their own war. They got thrown as political pawns. Whereas in Israel, you feel like you're fighting to defend your survival. If you don't stand here, you're dead. Your people are dead. Your family are dead. So I guess it's that difference that sort of, like you see in Israel, I found even politically, you know, the divide between left and right, it was just different. When you had a war, everybody was together in one way or another. They may not politically agree, and you still do have extreme groups on either side, but I just feel there, and it's one of the things I've always wanted to bring back to Australia, is that like national pride that within Australia, and I've seen it even in Britain, which is kind of frowned upon these days. Mm-hmm. In Israel, it's rejoiced, it's celebrated, because if you're not proud, if you've got no national pride, then why would you even fight for it? What does it matter?
Presumably, Abby, if the chips were down, if there was a need, you'd go straight back and help out again, would you? If you trained.
Look, I would for Australia as well, but you know, it's of course, I would for sure. I love Israel, I love Australia, and I think you know, I've had that question. People go, oh, but which? It's usually people trying to bait you into going, oh, but where's your loyalties lie? It's like, mate, Israel and Australia are allies. Britain are allies because we have the same moral belief system. We can't be at war because we have those. We share those values. It's those values that I will defend. It's not the person. I don't like, if there's a bad Jew, George Soros is a bad Jew. You know what I mean? I don't give him a pass because he's a Jew. So I don't love Israel because it's just Israel. I love it because it's the free democratic country of the Jewish people. I love Australia because of the free and democratic. I love those values, and that's what we should be fighting for. But it's just part, you know, one of those things. There's certain groups are always going to try and use to kind of create that little, but I like them. I love them. I love everyone.
So, Abby, you've got first of your 5 Facebook pages, and you're becoming a bit of an activist. How did that? When was that? Was that 10 years ago or 5 years ago? When was that? And how did that develop?
the first of those 5 that got deleted would have been like 8 years ago, but it got deleted, I guess maybe 4 years ago. But then it was just like one after the other. In fact, the last page that got deleted, like, in my defense, didn't get deleted because I breached their terms and conditions. I was well behaved. My content's been very clean lately. I've avoided the words you're not allowed to say. I let people come up with the words themselves. But they actually banned me because they have this, it's like the ever moving goalposts. It's they have this new rule. It's called the recidivism policy or something, which essentially means that if you used to have a Facebook page with the same name, sort of thing, then if you bounce back, if you come back and reopen a page, even if it's completely different content, but if it's the same idea. So I had a page, I had a few pages, Avi Yemini, because that happens to be my name. And I was doing like street journalism, whatever it was. And they got banned for whatever, because you said jihad too many times, whatever. So they got banned. So then when I've come back and I've tried to stay in the rules, they gone, oh, no. So this page, which only got banned last month, I had it for 12 weeks. 12 weeks, it got 150,000 followers in 12 weeks. It was killing it. In fact, they verified it. They verified it on a Friday, banned it on a Monday. They verified, and a week before they banned it, they even started monetizing it. I'm like, holy! I started to believe the conspiracy theories about the Jews just because they started paying me and verifying me. I was like, holy shit! Maybe we are in charge. I just didn't know.
but come Monday morning, it all went the other way.
Nah, turns out my circumcision didn't help.
We will make America great again.